Welcome to Project Pack number 10. This is day 8. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria, and we're going to watch Rick do some magic here.
And we're going to work with fragments and reticula, or reticula and fragments. And this is a concept that we came up with when we brought our primer volume 1 out. And just we were really excited about this, right?
This was, to me, the coup. It was such a great thing to add to this. That,
It was a great way to explore tangles, to take a small little snippet and then
to think
isolate that.
All you have to do, you don't have to design a big tangle. All you have to do is design this tiny little square.
And then you can put it together in different ways. So
Right.
Here's an example of various fragments put together in...
Even that frame, too.
And all of that frame, yeah. And so in the book, we have some pages with examples on them, and I'm going to duplicate some and create some new ones.
Okay, go for it.
So in this one, this happens to be fragment U4, and I just realized euphoric. Sorry.
Okay, you couldn't help with that one.
So anyways, this is taking one of these little squares, and we're just going to make a shape in it, which is another square.
Just tilt it a little bit.
Just tilt it a bit. And I'm going to just color in those sections. And part of what I want you to visualize is how these would go together if they were side by side, or when they're side by side, and either reflected or rotated.
It's funny, I don't think I've ever tried that particular one, and I'm going to try it today. Yeah.
Now, this is one that Maria did, F2, in an earlier one. I think it was in the borders.
Right, in the borders. And it's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Well, it's got light and dark, it's got curve and straight, and...
it's kind of exciting. It's got character.
And as you can imagine, if you were to put them side by side and mirror them, you can see how you'd have this like big circle happening, and then this square that was popping out onto 4 different corners.
Yeah, you could shade that so that it does some cool stuff.
And so these are all like, think of this as like a seed packet, right?
Yeah.
And you can plant them and watch them grow in all sorts of different ways. Now this is H5, and we did this one a couple times in the book, and I think we did that on that facing page that we showed you earlier in the video.
So watch, he's doing exactly the same thing on all 4 corners. So it looks like sort of a random stroke, but they're very, very explicit. And by turning the tile, all he has to do is the same thing in each corner.
And when you put these together just as they are, or mirrored, you end up with 2 totally different meta patterns. And that's something that you'll see a lot of in these fragments and reticula, and we'll do an example at the end, is that the shape by itself is what it is, but then when it's next to itself, it creates these other meta shapes.
It's really cool.
You
did a big study of that in the primer too.
Yes, there's a lot of really great things. And the other part of this that's fun to play with is that you can distort these squares. You know how we like change and play up Knightsbridge. It doesn't always have to be perfect 90-degree corners. Is when you have a 4-sided shape, you can explore how, when you have, what's that, silly putty, you would put it on something and then stretch it a little bit so you can distort it, yet it all hangs together.
So this little one on number 4 here is actually a kind of a Z shape. If you
Right.
Flip the square over and then the Z shape, and then you just ordered the whole thing.
And that number 4, by the way, is a really great one to rotate and mirror and play with that. This one here, this T7, is a good example of how some of our tangles became really great fragments. So this is one of my birthday presents to Maria. It was
is that Asunta?
That's Asunta.
Ah.
So if you put it together, mirroring, that would be Asunta.
That's right. That's right. And what a beautiful shape that is, like a teardrop.
Right.
Very, very nice. And we welcome you to try these once in a while. Just to take a day and just do fragments in reticula, and see what happens. They're so wonderful. And
the little bijou tiles are really great for this because you can do these little sample explorations and just do a small little sandbox of patterns. Now this is very similar. You'll have recognized this as flukes from an earlier video.
I did one and you did one, right?
Yes. So for that reason, I wanted to really make sure that was in here.
I don't know what this is going to be.
This is going to be Q2.
Q2?
You don't remember?
Q2. QT, maybe.
So actually there is a T. We're going to put this sort of dividing this shape up. And in this shape, we're going to take that basic T and then add aura. And again, the magic of this little piece comes to be understood when you put it next to itself in different orientations.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see how we're using the light and the dark and the aura throughout all of these exercises.
Those of you who like straight line tangles, I know there's a whole bunch of you out there.
Well, and square fragments and reticula lend themselves.
Yeah, but that never stopped me from making them curvy.
True,
yeah.
Speaking of straight line tangles.
This is another one?
I guess
you must overloaded on straight lines.
I sort of overloaded, so there's a nice balance for...
Fragment A4. You're sort of a straight guy, kind of.
Yeah, but now and then I can do, what was that one? Like Hollis, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty curvy.
So we're in this fragment having different levels of light and dark. So on one side we have no ink, on the other two sides we have lines, and then the opposite we have solid. So again, you can imagine how those might go together.
This looks like a Bales kind of thing coming up.
Yeah, so you can refer to J6, and we went back to many of our tangles that are grid-based, and they obviously lend themselves wonderfully to being a reticula, or to being a fragment in a reticula. And reticula is a fancy word for like net or overall structure into which you would put something.
We didn't really want to say grid because they weren't straight grids. Some of them were triangular, some of them were round, and we didn't want that word to limit you.
So it's basically a crescent moon in that Bale shape.
Nice.
And again, you can imagine rotating it and mirroring it. Right?
Nice.
So in this last one, I thought, okay, I'm going to make one up. And
that's always a little dangerous on the fly.
And I just drew lines, straight ones, by the way, from one corner to the middle of the two opposite sides. And then I put like how Molly did in her, what was the one?
Oh, wait a minute. The one
Munchin.
that's Munchin.
Like in Munchin. And in this case, I drew it from the side to the dot because I wanted to make as even gap as I could, and I can always just put it down. We're going to play with that one later. So now, for those of you who have played around with Tripoli, we took the idea of a triangle as a reticula element. And here we're going to create another one from the book.
So not only do we have lists of fragments, we also have many different reticula to choose from,
Right.
Maybe ones that you haven't thought of.
And we're working on more as
Right.
well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I love to do Tripoli. It's and what happens is when the grid disappears, you wonder, oh, how did that work? Because you can make them really wiggly and stuff, and they still come out great.
You'll notice perhaps that some of the fragments don't change when you rotate them, and then others do. So this, even if you rotate it like that last one in number 2, it looks exactly the same. Or if you mirrored it, it would look exactly the same. And then this one here, if you were to mirror it, it would look different. But if you rotated it, it would look the same. And all of that may sound like so much word soup, but when you start
mumbo jumbo.
when you start to actually play with it, it's like, oh, I get what he's talking about. So we encourage you to, these are really simple tangles. And so here was another new one.
Oh, my God.
Let me try this. So I'm just connecting the centers. And you can imagine how this might look when it's put together in different ways. Actually, this, I think, can only go together in one way.
Right.
And then this was an adaptation of one in the book, of L12, just to give you an idea of, you can look at the various things that are in the book and say, oh, well, I'm going to do it a little bit different and see what that looks like.
We also have a book of just reticulate fragments that our CZTs all got together to do at one of the Zenigans.
Yeah.
And it's a fabulous book, and you can see everybody's work, their names there, and they each got little assignments.
Right.
And that was
and
a
if I
great book.
remember, I'll put those links in the...
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing C21, and then I'm looking at this, it's like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool right there. I wonder if I could do something with that. But I decided to just go back and do the one that was in the book, because I'd already done a couple new ones. So you can, again, imagine how you might organize those circles. And this is an interesting one. I'm going from the north, south, east, and west, connecting north and east and south and west, but it's sort of like that baseball stitching.
Or basketball, a real tiny little basketball.
So in this one, putting a triangle in the middle, it's L25.
Doesn't it look like a token?
It does, it does. And we'll wait to see the next one. I think it's the next one, or the one after. And again, just extending those lines. And this is a really fun one to arrange in in a 6-sided where they meet up, or go under and then shade the over and under. So a lot of these have a real great over and under shading possibilities, like this one. Just these arcs. And the point of this is each one of these is really simple, but if you go back and look at that opening chapter page, it can look really complex, but you'll see some of these on that page. And this was my token, so to speak, of memory to when we visited so many friends in Taiwan and Korea with the coinage there.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan. So just extending those lines and then imagining how you would shade the over and under.
Cool.
And you can fill them in and make changes. And this is really the whole point of this is to inspire you to say, wow, well, yeah, but I could do this. And
Don't hesitate to add more little fragment squares all over these pages.
Yes. That's true, yeah.
Nestled in there. There's nothing telling you that you can only draw what we tell you to. There's plenty of room there.
So I wanted to play with the one that I came up with, and I actually came up with it as I was recording, and I'm going to do this for the first time, and let's see how it goes. So I'm going to set up a grid on one of the white tiles that you got in your Project Pack 10, and I'm using the 01 black, and I ended up making 5 lines in one direction, 5 lines in the other direction. So I've got, what is it?
4x4.
4x4. So let's do that one and see what happens here. So it's pretty straightforward. It's from the middle of one side to the corner, and then the middle of one side to the corner. And then just do a little bit to one side and just make your way into the corner there. And just keep doing that. And I sort of gauge it so somehow it looks somewhat even, but, I don't really worry about that. It all works out. And you'll notice even those little bits, a lot of that time I'm turning my tile each time, and my right hand is just staying in one place. So now I'm going to do what is called mirroring. So if you imagine, one of them, the first one was right up against a mirror, what would the image in the mirror look like? So I'm also playing with where those lines ended. I just now start my new lines right on those. And in the other direction, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to mirror that, which actually is the same as rotating, but
in this particular
one. But it's not always the case in every one, because this has some have one symmetry, some have 2, some have 3. So you can see now there's that meta shape of that four-pointed white star in the middle there. And now I'm going to go and again mirror, and you'll see that now we're developing a
diamond shape.
A diamond shape.
Very pretty. These are great meditations, these simple ones here.
And just going to keep doing that, mirroring back and forth until I finish up that whole row. Right? That's sort of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan at this point is going to explore, putting another line in there. So I start my fragment, and I don't know if you're really catching it, but I didn't catch it at the time, is that I did this one a little bit differently. Instead of going from the corner to the opposite sides, I did one opposite side to both corners. And in a little bit, I'm going to realize what I did.
This is live.
this is totally live. But I left it because it gave a really good example of
okay, what could we do with this?
Exactly.
Right?
Okay, so this was unexpected, and at some point,
this is one of the big parts of Zentangle that is so important. Is working with what you did.
Right. It's like now I just figured it out. It's like oh.
So you can mirror it.
Right. So I decided I went through the thing. Okay, well, I start over, and I said, no, let's just see where this goes. So I'm going to mirror my quote unquote mistake, and we're going to work with that, because in effect, what I've done here is created a mistangle. A new fragment.
Yes.
A mistangle fragment.
Right. And we want you to embrace these opportunities, because this is what teaches you more than anything else. So he's going to put this in as one of his.
So we got a new fragment out of that, and I was so excited to bring my mistake to Maria. I was like showing
a dead
her
bird.
in the office, like a cat brings whatever to the doorstep, and Lisa's like, look, and look at how. More importantly, look at what I was able to do with it.
Some people get flowers.
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go with this and see where it takes me. And
so he's going to reproduce that second tangle in this row.
And that's really what a pattern is something that repeats. So even if what you're repeating isn't what you expected to begin with, in its repetition, it becomes a pattern. And so we're doing that. And then
it looks kind of cool.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It works. So on this one, I've decided I'm going to go back. I think I did. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to go back to the original new fragment. And we're just going to put those in on this other side. And it brings out a whole new exercise of the idea of combining fragments. So as you look at your fragments, you can also look at combining fragments, and you can use your icosahedron to help you in that effort. So again, we're just mirroring that. Really, like Maria said, this is a great meditation. It's just a wonderful focus. Stroke back and forth. Remembering to light touch on your pen, remembering to breathe, remembering to relax.
And don't forget that Rick and I have been doing this for like 15 years. Yeah. And still have a misstep every once in a while that enables us to learn and challenges us.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at that. Isn't
How
that great?
fun is that, right?
So also in your book, there's this list of things and or opportunities to put down like playful choices. So in this case, I'm going to put a couple down. Pick a fragment and then duplicate it by rotating, mirroring, or both. And then the other inspiration from this was to mix fragments, even if you
didn't
mean
expect
to or not,
yeah.
Right?
I love that.
So this was a really fun one. And again, thanks everybody for playing with us. And we're going to see you tomorrow.
Okay, we got more to come.
More to come.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.